Lesson 2 consists of 3 parts. This is part 3 of 3. In this segment, we're going to take a look at a couple of additional options and practice what we've learned so far. In the third and final segment of Lesson 2, we're going to set up a couple more options and then practice setting up a new project if you haven't been following along. Let's return to the Project Options dialog box. Do you remember how you get there? It's the Options selection on the left-hand navigation of the Backstage view. One of the actions we want to establish is to set all common abbreviations to the shortest possible to allow more room for print and display. These will appear in many different views of project. You will want to select all new projects so these options are carried forward. We also want to be sure the Allow Cell Drag and Drop box is checked. This will allow us to work more productively in MS Project by using the drag and drop feature. We're now finished with this dialog box, so click OK to save the selections and dismiss the dialog box. Resource leveling is a complex feature of MS Project. Until we are ready to use it, we need to be sure resource leveling is performed manually, not automatically. To set up this option, find the leveling options in the Level group of the Resources tab. Select the Manual Radio button, then dismiss the dialog box by clicking OK. We've now walked through the most critical options of MS Project 2013. It's time to practice. In this navigation session, we're going to look at a couple of advanced options. To start, I'm going to go to the Backstage view again and go to Options. And this is where we'll find the advanced options. I'm going to scroll down just a little so the two areas we talked about in the slides will appear. And notice under Edit here, I have Allow Cell Drag and Drop. That's going to allow us to drag and drop things between cells in the table, the entry table for the Gantt chart. And then the display options, and again, as always, we want to make sure all these options are for all projects going forward. On the display options, I've selected the shortest for every one of these 6 items. So M for minutes, H for hours, all the way through Y for years. And we also want to make sure that there's a space before the label for readability purposes. So that's all we need to do in this area. We just needed to look at these abbreviations and the drag and drop. So I'm going to click OK. Now I'll go to the Resource tab and to the Level options and leveling options here. And notice for leveling calculations, we want to make sure this is checked as manual. Because we don't want any leveling to be done without our knowledge until we learn more about the feature. We'll be looking at this in a little more detail in some of the optional material of the course. So at this point, I click OK, and that establishes the advanced options and ends this navigation session. Now it's time for you to practice. Even if you've been following along, try to set up another project so you will learn where all the key options are located. When you turn off the video, start MS Project and set up the project information and properties. Set up the key options as discussed in the presentation. I recommend that at this point you do not change any other options other than those demonstrated in the presentation. This will make sure you can duplicate future plans as we continue through setting up this project. When you are done, save your file call it New Book Launch, your first name, your last name, .mpp. For example, New Book Launch, raysmith.mpp. On your desktop or in your Documents folder, MS Project Default, so you can easily find it again for the next video lesson. You can use the Save As function on the Backstage view to perform this task. Please continue to build on this file. At the end of all the videos, there will be a quiz which asks for information about your file to make sure you have been following along and taking the right actions. Thank you for viewing the video of Lesson 2. When you have finished practicing with the user interface, be sure to move on to the third lesson. Remember, you need to view all 3 lessons and complete the quiz before the next class.